Hello and welcome back to the Daily Bread Bible Study. We're looking at day 109 for Saturday, April 18th, 2020, focusing on 2 Kings 4 through 5. So today we get to see the prophet Elisha at work. Now remember that the prophet Elisha is the successor to the prophet Elisha, who inherited a double portion of his spirit. And we see that he is more than capable of helping out widows and others. In a story that feels similar to Elijah, the prophet Elisha helps a widow who feels like she has nothing. Left with only oil and a family to feed, the widow seeks Elisha's help to provide. The prophet invites neighbors to give empty vessels to be filled with oil, and in a miraculous sight, the poured oil keeps on going and going. The oil stops flowing once all the jars are full, the many, many jars, and the widow is able to sell the oil and provide for her family. In another display of God's word, in Elisha, he promises a barren Shunammite woman a son. The son is born, grows older, and then dies young. And the man of God comes to the son, closes the door, and prays. Upon breathing breath into the boy, Elisha then bends over his body carefully, as his master Elisha did when he healed a boy as well. This Shunammite boy comes back to life and then sneezes 7 times. Get that icky spirit out of you, and the boy lives again. Thus, Elisha also performs 2 other miracles, purifying a stew of death and making sure people are fed abundantly from very little. Now, this last story reminds me of Jesus feeding the 5,000 there in the Gospels. So the story of feeding the 5,000, feeding the 4,000 also as well, but taking very little and making it abundant. In 2 Kings chapter 5, we learn that rich and poor come to Elisha for help, and not just Israelites. A commander of the army of Aram comes to the prophet. Elisha meets Naaman, the mighty man, with one little problem. He has leprosy. Naaman hears of a prophet in Samaria and sends money and riches in order to be healed. And after the king of Israel is distressed, the prophet Elisha says that he can heal Naaman. In 2 Kings 5:8, "Why have you torn your clothes? Let him come to me, that he may learn that there is a prophet in Israel." Maybe it's connected with purity ritual or a show of power, but in verse 10, Elisha sent a messenger to him saying, "Go wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean." Naaman is at first offended. This prophet does not consider him important enough to meet him face to face. And after accepting his orders, the commander washes and is cleaned. Naaman evangelizes God and has his heart turned towards God from that day on. Naaman, the commander of the armies of Aram, offers to pay Elisha, who refuses. Elisha's servant Gehazi becomes greedy and wanders back to accept the offering from the healed Naaman. Since Elisha knows what is going on, he has these words for his servant Gehazi. In 1 Kings 5:26, "But he said to him, 'Did I not go with you in spirit when someone left his chariot to meet you? Is this the time to accept money and accept clothing, olive orchards and vineyards, sheep and oxen, male and female slaves? Therefore the leprosy of Naaman shall cling to you, and to your descendants forever.' So he left his presence leprous, as white as snow." Goes to show that God sees all, and even through God's prophets, that God is able to execute judgment. And we see that Elisha keeps God's judgments rolling and God's blessings flowing, just like the oil and just like what Elijah did previously. So we see that God's continuing to raise up prophets, and that'll be very important as we see that God is going to need all the help when the idolatry finally ends here in 2 Kings. But more on that later.